Kuno does.
There are 8 pairs. You won't get far without a lieutenant here to bounce thoughts off of. Where could he? An old call box with a matrix of push buttons lists all the companies in the East Delta Commerce Center. An off-key.
Kuno, please stop calling here. Grown-ups don't have time for your stupid games. Oh, I'm sorry, officer. I thought you... But the doorbell is broken, and the bookstore shouldn't even be on the list anymore, so I can't help you.
A single beep indicates that the line has gone dead. All you hear is static, but no one answers the call. Nothing happens after you ring the doorbell. A small mountain of colorful...
Lousy auras there. I've heard they turn people into occult enthusiasts.
The display rack is brimming with worn paper. Rows and rows of Dalamen blur your vision. You make out some titles. The display rack before you is burdened under piles of Man from Hyamdal novels. These shelves are overburdened with books from the same...
Oh, crime, robberies, you're a police...
crime fiction. These books, what's more, not a single mention of all the stress this work. You see, Dick Mullen on the... A killing is declared. Dick Mullen in the murder house. The final case of Dick Mullen. An obvious... Yes, there's also the tragedy calls for Dick Mullen. Another one with fake death. After all this, you still haven't found the answer to the one question. Your quick eye notices a small caterpillar crawling across the... A worn paperback from Dick Mullen's classic, Hard-Boiled. Could it be the motifs of unstable identities and shocking betrayals? Then this is the book for you. The plaque on the shelf reads, by browsing through all the books, suddenly, a particularly odd title catches your eye. It reads, High-Speed Love, the tragic true love story of Jacob Irv and Alfie Delatraz, by one Cecilia Averbrook. High-Speed Love chronicles the romance, but next to Irv's life story, you see a slim biography of an Occidental rock star called The Anti-Star. He's famous for shooting morphine into one of his eyeballs and cocaine into the other. Next to that, Revacholian radio personality Guillaume Bevy stands in front of a room.
I really must insist you buy one of the books. Reading them is not... I'm sorry, I did not mean to rush you.
This bookstore is not strictly about crime.
Sir, please, no browsing in that shelf. I can't have you end up like...
Amidst the various books, you find one written by someone named Matthias W. Dundas. It's about wholeness, unity, balance. These three things are very important. The point of the book, and many others on this shelf, it serves platitudes, wholeness, unity. When it's up to your mind to heal yourself, then it's because the book features chapters on topics such as there's even a chapter on the ancient Seraïs tradition. This is just mundane garbage. What's even paranatural about this? The throbbing in your head, suddenly, as if out of nowhere, a small green book. The book contains very little explanation. The book contains description. For example, it recommends vigorously swatting one's naked body with a venik or hand broom made from the leafy twigs. It is supposedly invigorating and good for the soul. It also recommends consuming distilled spirits like vodka or whiskey that have been aged in the pail. Readers, among other benefits, it is alleged to restore a... That seems improbable. Is it any more improbable than anything else that human beings put their faith in? For general health and well, these strolls promise to cleanse the mind of worries and the body of toxin. This is exactly what you need. There's an entire section devoted to cures for men who are struggling to perform. You close the book and return it to its place on...
Hello again, esteemed officer, and welcome to... Goodness, you were already doing good, browsing the...
She smiles and... Just an ordinary wall. Nothing to see here. You have no... So many walls all over my...
You're back. Good. What can I help you with? More lessons in basic reality? My favorite part of the day. Go ahead, ask me anything.
It remains a mystery what you mean by this something close. This isn't about you. It's about reality. What is all of this? The scent.
What world? The only one, I suppose.
The camera of her mind glides over the surface of the water.
Great bodies of water, forest-covered surfaces, clusters of light where... There is a term of endearment they coined for it in the DeLorean century. ELYSIUM. It does. A term of hatred that originates, like many such things, with the Mesk petro-fascists. I am, after all, bourgeois and female. Hardly the perfect what world?
The camera of
Great bodies of water. There is a term. ELYSIUM. It does. A term of hatred that Oh, you want a picture of the world? There is no. Great things are difficult to achieve. For now, we're viewing the world from the inside. We used to think it was a sphere, but that is beginning to look less and less likely by the day. You wouldn't know it.
ORG. Occident.
There's a steadily increasing trickle of images. Between the big three scientific contributors, yes. Pale covers 72% of the surface. There are grey flares and prominences, even arcs above entire.
A cold fear seeps into you.
You seem to be spooked. They say there is a rarefied envelope of matter surrounding the darkened disk of our planet. That is, if we are still living on a planet. Or, to speak more plainly, imagine vast swathes of land disrupted by nothingness. I am sorry, dear. It must sound... But this is one of the greatest questions of our time. Maybe when they get the complete set together, it will jolt us out of our rut, bring us together. I don't know about things of that scale, but yes.
She does not seem convinced that you'll be fine. If anything,
You may have misimagined it. I don't have the power. It's like the crowning of the world. It's insane. Very disco. You'd love it, but you already have. And you're doing just fine.
Suddenly, you're conscious of yourself standing there.
The Pale is not, technically speaking, it is the opposite of reality. Okay. The Pale is the most dominant geological feature of the world, Detective. The separative tissue between the islas. It is the inter-islary mass. Isla is a Messinian word for a continent of matter, enveloped on all sides by the Pale. Also, isolation, or landmass. We used to believe there was only one. In the last 4 centuries, Windy, Seol, Samara, Ilmara, Grad, Katla, and this, Insulinde, an oceanic isla. It comprises mostly of water. Muindi is the largest, Katla the coldest, Insulinde the bluest. What can I say? Each is perishing and dear. Achromatic, odorless, featureless. The Pale is the enemy of matter and life. It is not like any other, or anything in the world. It is the transition state of being into nothingness.
The negation of being.
That's right. The negation of being. Oh, it is so difficult for us. It is possible to force dimensions on the Pale. In modern times, we can even compress its latitude, bouncing radio waves from one end to the other, shortening the path. But it is still hard for humans to navigate the Pale without getting lost. Or having our minds damp. No, Detective. We're safe. It begins there, 6,000 kilometers to the north, and even more to the south, east, and west. You are in the middle of the Isla.
As your gaze instinctively turns north, a small black pit opens up in your stomach.
Yes. That is enough. Many cities are built much closer. An uproar of matter, darling. Rising into the Pale. Rolling. Evaporating even. a great vision. The area of... Imagine a grey coronal mist, cold vapour, marked by spores of an opportunistic microorganism. A mold that's adapted to grow at the edge of the unrest. It's the most disco thing you will ever see. It's difficult to describe, or even measure. Something who... The further into Pale you travel, the steeper the degree of suspension, right down to the mathematical. Numbers.
There's a slippery article in there.
Pale when it's particular, this territory of Pale. The Pale when it's pale in its entirety. Once you've seen it, extensively. Some say the damage stems from extreme sensory deprivation. Others argue that Pale somehow consists of past information. They call it the blend over of the self. The Pale does not only suspend the laws of physics, but also the laws of psychology.
Who says and who argues?
The logical positivists say, the dialectical materialists argue. It feels terrible. Absolutely terrible. International standards, strict...
It's more for her. Way more.
No, nameless detective of the Citizens Militia. I am a member of the Entreprenetic Business...
Someone else you've met may have been exposed as well. The strange grey-haired woman in her lorry.
Yes, carried in the hulls of airships. It's a horrific job. Automation will abolish it soon.
You should ask the Pal driver about this. See, that poor woman must have stories to tell, like you wouldn't imagine.
Up to my gills, officer. Entreprenetics is the scientific study of the Pale, or a recent iteration of it by way of grad. The study of the Pale reaches back 6,000 years. The Pericarnassians called it the...
They had not traveled the entire circumference of the Pericarnassian Super E Solar. It was not merely in the west, it was...
There are signs of pre-modern crossings. Successful navigation of the Pale relies not just on technical know-how, but intent... Nothing. We remain powerless before the Pale. The only real advance in Pale transit is the speed with which an aerostatic craft can pierce it. Less exposure leads to less effects later. Hybrid airships, detective. Conventional rotors or jet engines no longer add velocity after the point of reference for motion is... In essence, we throw them in and they come out the other end. If we throw them precisely. Then they don't.
Gone, like a skipping stone beneath the surface.
The Pale outweighs reality 2 to 1. What do you think, detective? Oh no, detective. It's not. One of the few measurable effects of the Pale is that it is expanding. An intuitive conclusion of that development is that one day the Pale will cover everything. But this sort of talk is mostly left to extreme. Most people, and indeed most private and government sector organizations, entire civilizations and religions even, find... I suggest you do this.
Off we go. You see the hanged man's mouth open.
One and all. They say Pale is death.
Why should we just leave, and the world get left behind?
Yes, sweet Is this the first time you're hearing this? Do you really not remember anything? Then tell me, what do you think of the Pale? You really didn't know. This does not spell good for the investigation, detective. If you don't know even this, then... I hope so. I truly do. If I may suggest, hold on to your colleague, Kitsuragi. I ran a check on him and he is very competent.
Some of that assurance is meant for herself, as much as it's meant for you. She must have a lot.
You have me. I will assist you in any way I can, even if we have to do it one basic term at a time. Glad to have been of assistance. The little that I know. Anything else?
Hello again, officers. Have you come to admire
The lieutenant is dead. Hatred, the woman.
That is on her. Someone's got to keep an eye
Ozon is an architect.
on a first name basis with her, are we? Have you got a crush on her?
Hello again. How can I help you?
feeling warm and enthralled by the movement of light, a drug developed by the military to treat and prevent radiation sickness. It has psychedelic side effects, and
Why on earth? There's a prescription. I can't really see.
there's a note of indignation in his voice. Those triangle patches on his vest, you have a feeling they mean something, like they're similar to the halogen rectangle on your jacket.
Rolodon is just something said I was with the emergent.
He's taken for mental and emotional.
I like the theory more than the story. Outward.
Yeah, you gotta get in on those vortices, my man.
Sure, let me have a look. I'm not purchasing any more clothing, and especially that.
Your mother is a necrotic object! I'm fun! Look at me sparkle in the light of the projector!
Anything else you're thinking of selling? Another time, perhaps. Sure thing. Sure, man. Sure thing. Sure, man.
You sit on the wind-worn wooden planks of the bench. Your feet ache. You finally stop picking your nose. The man ponders his cooking utensils and gives you a little nod, acknowledging your presence. He looks up at you, then shrugging is an international sign for, no, I don't know what's behind that door. You see a heavy steel door. The cobalt blue surface feels rough to touch. The stainless steel door is flush with its frame on every side. It leads to a side building, adjacent to this one. The old building next to this, half ruined. Whatever is behind it must be older. The door does not budge. You see a heavy steel door with a prominent dimpled lock. It's painted blue.
Can I help you? Do I have a shaker in my hand?
He sounds irritated, and it's not a shaker. It's nothing. He's holding nothing.
Am I wearing a little bow tie? Am I wearing a bow tie and doing this? Am I smiling? Do you... Because I'm not...
Play it calm.
Like what?
The bed is still cold from the break. A mirror hangs on the bathroom wall. In it, your face, adorned with the expression. It belongs in the new, the third decade of the current century. Things were good. It was smooth sailing. People made gold and for Revachol, your city. That meant only one thing. Guillaume le Million. Out of the dazzling swirl of disco music, in an open-air boîte de nuit somewhere in Revachol West, Guillaume's blonde mane appeared on the screen. He sang some bullshit. Then he made the expression. Everyone loved it. Maybe you thought some of the stardust would rub off on you. Maybe it did. Either way, it's all gone now. Only the grimace remains. There is a vast ocean of time between right now and the expression. looking good on you, or anyone. 2 decades, if the calendar is to be trusted. Humanity has run aground in that time. It's a different world now. The expression is a relic. You have some understanding of the near history of disco, plus the trivia you've picked up along the way. Episodic memory, however, remains in the dark. It may never return. You should prepare yourself for that. It doesn't have to be. You can swoon over Guillaume and his champagne-corked smile whenever you want to. Maybe some of the stardust will return.
It's you again. What is it?
As you look around this room full of sweaty men, swearing, drinking, spitting out tobacco, does this look familiar? You believe the place was called Precinct 41. It was also filled with, almost exclusively, men.
Huh? You got a problem with beer now?
Not quite there yet. Push on.
Speak for yourself, buddy. I've been running this outfit for 10 years now. You should have seen Martinez before it started.
They didn't see shit, man. Kids getting shot. We had 3 shootings a week. Fucking graffito everywhere. You cops haven't shown up since the 30s.
So what? What do you want from me?
Don't let him drink that. One more push. Quick.
Titus?
She stops mid-sentence. That's it. You got him.
You wanna help her, cop? Fine. I'm gonna let you help her. But you treat her. If you don't, if you question her, harass her, Glacia, I'm on due. She's staying here at the Whirling in Rags, a real pretty one. Silvery jumpsuit, blonde. That's Amonju with an O-U. Relationship? There was no fucking relationship.
Was like that karaoke incident. Oh.
Okay, enough.
He did it before we killed him. He's not gonna do it again. So what does it matter? All right. 2 weeks, maybe? I don't know. I need an...
Here you go, boss.
You don't know her. Not the way I do. I know her. Well enough, Copper. We party. She's been here for a few months. You mean Revachol? Nah, she's an immigrant. Or a drifter of some sort. Been staying here over the winter.
Don't you give her any more trouble. She's just had some bad luck, that's all.
Shut up, Angie. She doesn't need your help.
Titus gives them both a look. They fall silent. What's with all the silences? It's like these guys don't know how to feel about this. You should keep picking at it.
What do you think I meant? Yes, yes, and no. Got something to say about it? No, we just fucked. That's all. I'm not gonna give you any details if that's what you're after. So put your dick away.
He really went out of his way to seem comfortable with this topic. That's all you're gonna get for now.
Remember what I said. Freight train of pain.
Starting from the right, boot size 44, blonde man, in his 30s, overbearingly masculine. Sitting on his right, standard working boots, size 45 or 46, eldest in the room, probably mid-50s, smoker, quiet. Across at the... He spent his youth in Villa, and then the emblem on his in the far corner, standard working boot, steel reinforced toes, size 44, 40-something, non-alcoholic beverage in hand. You squint. Is that a plectrum? on his neck. Forget it. Let's call this one size 41 with the light step. Not a child in the mid. In conclusion, exactly. You've stood there for about 4 seconds.
The fuck is with you, fella?
The door is closed.
Who is it?
Somewhere, not far from here, the lieutenant is preparing her file. Claudia Amandu, he writes. You realize the detective should be here for what comes next. It could prove dangerous to go in alone. The door is closed.
Who is it?
Somewhere, not far from here.
Who is it?
Somewhere, not...
Oh, hello, dear. There you are again. Oh, dear. I'm not sure where to begin. Well, his expression is slightly grumpy, but his eyes are always bright and curious, like a small boy's. And his palms are quite coarse from all the field work, but he's quite gentle.
You can't go around Revachol feeling grown men's hands. It's always a challenge to describe the person you know best in the world.
Oh, well, he's a bit shorter. One other thing, he'll likely have all kinds of field gear on him, even if he's not out in the reeds, you know, just in case. We'll be celebrating our 16th anniversary this autumn. Not the most numerically satisfying anniversary, but I like the less obvious milestones even more, so via dating agency, I'm ashamed to say. We hit it off, and
She's skipping over some important...
I hope I've been useful. Of course, dear. Is there a particular cryptid? What an interest. The Col de Mama d'Aqua, or Thin Whisper of...
Col de Mama d'Aqua can also be translated as a whisper light and low.
Plenty. It's the evidence that led to its discovery. When playing back recordings they had made in the foothills of the Ea, the scientists soon discovered they could track and eat. They realized that they had discovered a new species and called it the Col de Mama d'Aqua, after the Paracarnassian. They grew quite obsessed with these little birds. Even Sequester, Time, Joscan, those are but some of the Mama d'Aqua. What about what? Of course.
I've got nothing to say.
Was that? Could it be? The Col de Mamadakwa? No, there seems to be. And extremely, Lena also said that it couldn't be heard by any other animal, including humans. What your... Oh no. No. Too late. It's gone. There is no... Keep your ears peeled, then. If the...
Every snowflake is like, it's the type of book where there's a or there could be a story about a poor lady getting a rich man. It's about man and lady business. I haven't read many of those. Maybe you should ask Mum. I don't think it's a romance story if the main characters break up, though. No. Yes.
What was that? An idea for an unfinished novel stuck somewhere in your forebrain?
It happens, but usually the guy gets rich in the process. Those are unhappy books, for most of the pages. People sad about, maybe some about other books.
You're back. Good. What can I help you with? What would you like to know, officer?
The crowns of her teeth are porcelain. Her nonchalance might be related to something called the Wayfarer Act.
Good. That's the man who was killed. I'm better not tie the fourth day to the back.
She wants to answer the question. Protocol keeps her from it.
Of course. I'm glad you are. Yes. On the last day of the local chapter elections, her daughter phoned in. Indeed. The company suspects foul play. But the point of the presentation is, these kinds of things happen around the Clares. Watch out when you're dealing with him. Mr. Clare told him, fuck off, midget. Gaumont is short of stature, you see. Yes. Keep in mind, this is a negotiator. Mr. Clare has...
Sounds like usual aggressive posturing.
Of course.
Don't tell her you've met Everard right away. There's time.
What we do...
There was a touch of discomfort there. She wants to...
The Pines, and that is the...
The Wild Pines Group is one of the original.
I'm not at liberty to discuss the company balance sheet, but I can tell you that last year, the company booked more than 20 billion real in revenue. $20 billion is a large number, but the conglomerate employs 72,000 people. A conglomerate the size of the Wild Pines is like a shark. If it stops moving, it will die. Then what becomes of those... You mean aside from being the terminal's legal owners? Who are responsible for moving 8% of the world's cargo? We built this district.
We?
All the best parts of it. Rue de Saint-Ghislain, with its bastion. Before Martinez was swallowed by the industrial harbour, even before it was part of Revachol, long before Terminal B was erected. A company getaway, for a weekend or a summer holiday. Then came the revolution. But that's another matter. I'm here to make sure the Pines can fulfill their responsibilities to the place they built.
With your help, hopefully, says her warm tone.
Until you come up with something at that intersection, how do you think they're financing this strike? It's true, they drove a number of the local businesses to bankruptcy preparing for this venture. I've talked to a few businesses, precisely. Smuggled out of that very gate at night, most likely, then loaded onto lorries and
She simply nods.
Yes, my eyes on the harbour have sent word to that effect. What have you discovered? It doesn't really matter. And
one of the tall buildings overlooking the roundabout, most likely. That would give them a read.
In any case, it's a relief to know someone has looked into it. If I may ask, will there be an official investigation? I assume you discovered there is an operation. Okay. I thank you for sharing that much with me. In any case, I wouldn't normally break protocol like this, but the situation demands it. If you don't solve this murder, I'm afraid we may have a bloodbath on our hands. Yes, I'm afraid this strike may descend into a small-scale civil war, with possible consequences for all of Revachol West. I have an indirect role to play, I'm sad to say. My employer experienced a momentary lapse of faith in me. In that moment, they elected to deploy a private military contractor as an insurance measure. They were dispatched after I relayed the union's initial offer. A member of the board. I tried to convince my employer it was simply a piece of rhetoric or a joke. They did not appreciate the humor. Absolutely not. These mercenaries are muscle, pure and simple. Crenell, an Oronese military company. As far as I know, 3 arrived in Martinez. They report to me sporadically, but they do not answer to me. They wear ceramic armor, have semi-automatic weapons, and years of combat experience. The story is, one of them, the colonel, I don't know his real name, sexually assaulted a local woman while he was drunk and separated from his unit. This allowed some of the more militant union. He was taken out behind the whirling in rags and lynched. Last Sunday night. Nothing. Mr. Clare refuses to let me into the harbour. I have not been able to discuss this matter with anyone there. The remaining 2 It's a smokescreen. In secret, they are conducting an independent military tribunal into the lynching. Once this investigation is concluded, executions will follow. It was the Union who strung him from that tree. My hope is that you provide a single concrete suspect before Crenell indiscriminately pick theirs. If you don't pin this on someone good, and do it fast, they will identify and execute everyone present at the lynching. This in turn will
They would have to. The Union has over 2,000 men.
Have you ever seen a hornet invade a beehive, detective? It's not.
The Seraï's giant hornet, the world's 2nd largest insect, can kill 40 honeybees a minute, while a group of 30 can decimate.
These men work in tandem using semi and fully, as I said, a bloodbath. Too many things have already gone wrong. Nameless, badgeless. All we can do is keep the little that is not from following suit. One single concrete suspect delivered into civil court, and I may be able to defuse this situation. Not much. Their public resume is relatively good, as far as private military contractors go. I believe they were once called Downwell. They boast a long list of clients. Saint-Baptiste, Welchman Lorenz, Eintracht. A warning sign, however. The operation, sadly, no. Before this happened, I had little interest in them. Now that I do, I don't. If you still have access to the ICP's database, you could run a better background check than I ever. Ah, yes, your condition. The International Collaborative Police maintains a database. I have, and they will. However, these orders take time to reach what is basically a rogue unit out in the field here. Until they do, it's all on. Or he didn't. This is information passed on to me from some teenagers loitering around that the man was killed because he assaulted a local woman. I've asked around a bit. This seems last Sunday night at the Whirling and Rat. Either way, he's alleged to have sexually assaulted a woman. Sometime later, a group of dock workers got their hands on him. Good. Then you've made progress. It's imperative that you... If you mean did I see him alive? Yes. Lely, his service name, a nom de guerre, most likely. He wouldn't divulge his full name. Only one of... He was 40. Or 50. It's hard to say which. He had a He was, Occidental, I think. Light brown hair, a mixed accent. Oranese. In a way, it was humanizing. He had to learn to speak through it. Through the injury. That's all I know, I guess. I only met him once. They've gone to ground, as it were. I don't recommend seeking them out. For one, they're almost certainly... They don't have the same respect for the Revachol citizens' militia as I do. To put it bluntly, they think you're vigilante.
Vigilantes. You're a professional officer of the only legitimate authority in Revachol.
You're likely to run into them eventually. When that happens, I'll be in a better position to mediate if I don't appear involved.
One is obviously the scab leader at the harbour gates. The one chanting the idiotic slogans. The other has a vantage point in a building south of the roundabout. They were keeping tabs on you while you were canvassing the lorry drivers.
That may be so. I still have...
The situation at the gate...
That would afford a good vantage point. In any case, it's... I hope I can answer it better. Until the executions start? Truthfully, I don't know. It depends on their progress identifying the members of the lynch mob, and their impatience. Not on this matter. I'm afraid they consider this a personal initiative. It's a matter of days, not weeks. I am sorry to have been the bearer of bad news. If there is anything else I can help you with, please, of course. Excuse my hesitation before.
For about half a minute, in silence. Her mouth is relaxed. The accordion lines near her mouth vanish.
Sorry. I was trying to see if I can read the web of interdependencies between these points. I can't. But that's how you read this story. The points themselves don't have letters, numbers, anything. Their size, location on the body, and distance from each other tells you what they rep. Close. Port cities. This is an Oranese map of the waterways, a sailor's tattoo worn by wayfarers of the Dolorian century. Over 300 years ago, the sailors would mark their bodies to map their travels. The sailor's soul would use it to fly back home if they should die abroad.
Where is he now?
The times have changed. Quite a few. Vredefort, the Oranese capital. Then he made his way to the Preto Grande, through what I think must be the Statsk Revachol. Those are the two constants.
The old world passing by, and the new...
I can't. This man was no sailor, and these are no ports. I can understand geographic fragments, but not their meaning. His platoon members? The other contractors, though I do not suggest you go and show them that picture. This man was their friend, and...
Surely there are other people to ask about the tattoo. This is not necessary to complete the task.
I am relieved you think so. Is there anything else I can help you with?
sturdy metal door. The door.
Stop banging on the door! I'm not letting any more strangers in. Doesn't matter who I am. The police? No. Go check the backyard door.
Backyard door. There must.
I like playing in the dark. Sharpens your nocturnal instincts. Feels like being on recon. Yes, the Debardeurs Union pays me to stand vigil during the night. I'm an old man. Don't sleep more than a few hours.
He feels like he has to justify himself for some reason.
Yes, it does. Unfortunately, I wasn't working that night. Been on a 2-week leave since last Monday. It's a private matter.
You see, officer, René is the kind of man would rather die than admit.
I'm fine, goddammit! No one. The bus has been unmanned since last Monday. Yes! It's...
Look, officer, the container yard doesn't actually need a guardsman. Never had one before René. Monsieur Claire had that bus built.
The possibility of someone being in there is enough to
Evrard created this job for René because he knows the Royal Carabiniers' pension of honor and PTSD isn't something a man can live off. A decorated Kingsman collecting tear reflects bad on the whole neighborhood. His words.
It's not charity. Not to me. Up there, I give it all I got. I earn my keep. She is nobody.
The lady is Jeanne-Marie Beaulieu, and she sure as hell wasn't a nobody.
Yes. Like I said, I would be up anyway, so might as well. Sadly, no. It was the foreigners who brought them to their knees. We fought valiantly. Two should have fought dirty, like they did with their suicide sex cult propaganda and mad anarchist women strapped to shrapnel bombs. We didn't, though.
It was probably a bit more complicated than that.
Because this place is a damn beachhead. Had to soften the commies up first. Yes. The military coordinated amphibious Martinez was used as one of the 3 footholds in Revachol during Operation Deathblow in 08. The other 2 are off in Stella Maris and the Delta. This here is Blood Ground, where coalition boots first made landfall and cleaned those rabbits.
Blood Ground. You got old René going there. Like he isn't hungry enough already.
Don't get me wrong, officer. I hate those foreign dogs, but the enemy of my enemy and all that. They're the lesser evil. Damn right, son. They lit the fire of hell on the city before the rest of the city got cleaned up, but Martinez they keep as a monument.
Well, it's your own damn fault. You, we, the coalition, Revachol, whoever you want to blame.
You don't even begin to truly understand the players on the table.
Thinking men have opinions on these things. Present one.
I'm sorry it had to be them. After 8 years of fighting, I would have preferred if the Right Honorable King Guillaume returned to Revachol.
This royal failure.
Instead, all that is just, holy, and beautiful in the world was wiped away, and now it's neon signs with toothpaste ads. This is just what the gummies wanted. This was their plan all along. This is what they wanted to replace the role of the suzerain with. It doesn't. That was 100 years ago. Ain't got nothing to do with anything. Damn Frissel. He was the king we couldn't protect. The Carabineers failed him, and the crown. A true king in both blood and mind led Revachol before Frissel. He would have been better, but the damn the suzerain is the king. Has everyone forgotten already? It's no use talking to you. You were still in Daddy's balls when it happened. When we took our last stand against the Filth and rode the Ah, yes!
Oh,
a superpower, feared and respected. A testament to what this country decisively, without fear of offending the sensibilities of the frail and weak-minded among his subjects. This is something the insurgents never understood. A nation is only as strong as its leader.
Don't get started on that again.
The Carabineer doesn't reply.
Oh, old Philip was a big fan of the purple-nosed candy, the nobility.
You can't even take the responsibility for yourself. How could you fathom the response? That's why the Philippian kings use cocaine. For clarity of vision. To aid in their work. Regnum cocainum. Philip III was even brought into this world with the help of cocaine. The court made him administer the dose to his mother.
Higher realms. He's just making excuses for the king's habits, isn't he?
From what I've seen of the officers of the ELYSIUM... right.
The door is
Who is it?
somewhere, not far from here. The lieutenant is preparing her file. Claudia Amandu, he writes. The door is
Who is it?
somewhere.
Who is it?
Somewhere, not far from here. The lieutenant is preparing her file. Claudia Amandu, he writes. The bed is still cold from the broken window.
I've got nothing to say to you.
The tracks are as they have ever been, a bit more worn perhaps. An old call box with a matrix of push buttons. Looks like someone has melted half the plastic off with a lighter. The doorbell doesn't work anymore. This button looks new, but someone has removed the name card. Nothing happens when you try to ring it.
Is this about the questions again?
The tear machine stands in the court. Your bottles clunk into...
Right to work! Right to work!
Hell no. I'm just an honest scab. I won't have talk like fucking Bob.
I'm going to interpret that as a yes. There's a tribunal.
How about you fuck off now, huh?
The man's breathing steadies, but his eyes are still...
When a bunch of ungrateful, lazy cockroaches can't get their act together, decide beats me.
There's something odd in the way he carries himself. His set of clothing looks vaguely mismatched. The different pieces of the attire seem ill-fitting. Fine. It was probably nothing.
Oh, hello, dear. There you are again.
The man ponders his cooking utensils and gives you a little nod. bed is still cold.